The Genoise sponge cake is an Italian sponge cake named after the city of Genoa, and it is associated with Italian and French cuisine. Traditionally, instead of using a leavening agent, the Genoise sponge cake relies heavily on eggs to be whipped into a foam and then incorporated into the batter. So when making this traditional cake vegan, it can often be very hard. And I'm going to show you today how we can do it using some unique ingredients. So this recipe calls for using both an egg yolk and an egg white. Of course, we're going to recreate those vegan now. So the first thing that we're going to want to do is create our vegan egg yolk. So I have measured out my first measurement of water here. And to that, I'm going to be adding paniseg or xanthan gum and oil. So I'm actually going to mix my paniseg or xanthan gum with the oil first, and then add this to my water. And set that aside for 15 minutes. Meanwhile, while our vegan egg yolk is hydrating, we're going to work on our vegan egg white replacement. So this egg white replacement is using a unique ingredient, two actually. The first one being methyl cellulose. So what this is a plant fiber. It has some functions including foaming and stabilizing foam, so it's going to give us a very, very stable foam. Fiber in plants is like the bones of the plants, giving them structure. So it's going to give us a lot of structure to our cake. In addition to that, it has a very unique function. So when it is heated, it is going to set firm. So it's kind of like when you put an egg in a frying pan and it becomes opaque and then sets. So that is what it's going to do. There's some unique ways of how it's prepared. So it's always prepared with hot water first, and as it cools down, that's when it starts activating its function. So we're going to add our methyl cellulose to our stand mixer bowl or large bowl. We are also using some potato protein 300 powder, so we're going to add that as well. And the potato protein powder is going to give us a beautiful foam, and it is also an emulsifying agent too. So to this, we are going to add, I always like to add about a tablespoon of my sugar measurement. So I'm just going to add that with my powders. And now that's just going to help disperse everything. Give that a good whisk. I have my bowl over a scale and we're going to measure straight in there our boiling hot water. I've got it in my kettle here, directly into our bowl. Okay. Give that a bit of a mix with your ball whisk attachment. And we're going to set this on our stand mixer and start beating it until it becomes foamy. Mix just is starting to foam like so, I'm going to add a third of my sugar. And we're going to get it back onto our stand mixer and beat it on a medium to high speed until we get a soft peak stage. So it's been about 3 to 4 minutes and our meringue is already starting to come along nicely. We're at the soft peak stage. Every so often you may also need to go in with your spatula and just scrape down the sides just to ensure no sugar has been stuck. So now we're going to get this back onto our mixer. And we're going to add our remaining sugar a little at a time whilst beating. So I'm going to get this back on medium-high speed and just a little bit of sugar at a time. And we want to continue whipping this until we get a nice stiff peak stage. Now we have a beautiful, stiff and stable meringue. Now we're going to go back to our vegan egg yolk. It's had a little bit of time to hydrate. Now to that, we're going to be adding the sugar a measurement and just mix everything together. Put your ball whisk attachment back onto your mixer. And we're going to put this on a low speed and slowly add our vegan egg yolk and sugar mixture. Just scrape around the sides to incorporate everything. So while that's mixing together, we can sort out all of our dry ingredients. So we have some cake flour or all-purpose flour, salt, and baking powder. So just pop all of those into a bowl. We're going to whisk them all together just to disperse everything. Our vegan egg yolk and our vegan egg white is all incorporated and we have this beautiful velvety consistency. We are going to start adding our dry mixture. Now we need to do this in 3 additions. So I'm going to put a third in and sift into my mixture. And we're going to fold this through, ensuring we're not deflating the mixture too much. So I like to kind of cut through the center, turn my bowl and then go around the edge, cut through the center and then around the edge. So we're slowly incorporating our dry ingredients without deflating the mixture too much. Once incorporated, add your next third and so on, and keep going until you've added all of your dry ingredients and you don't see any large lumps in your mixture. Once you've folded through all your dry ingredients and you get to this kind of consistency, it should be nice and fluffy, we're going to transfer our mixture to a piping bag. So I like to use a disposable piping bag fitted with a 15 millimeter or 1.5 centimeter round tip nozzle. And just twist the bag, poke it inside so your batter doesn't fall out. And you don't want to overfill your bag with the batter, just so it's much easier to work with. So just fill the bag halfway with your batter. Twist the end so we create some pressure. Now, if you're using this Genoise sponge cake as a base to your entremets, you want to grab yourself a 16 centimeter ring form, and we're going to use this as a guide. So I like to get a pencil or a permanent marker and just draw around each form. So we're going to do 2. And then this is going to be flipped over. Now just secure your paper to your tray just so that it doesn't move down. You can do that by putting a little batter in the tray or just clip it down. Starting from the center in a circular motion, we are going to pipe a swirl of our Genoise sponge cake. And I always like to go a little bit outside my circle, just in case there is a little bit of shrinkage, we can always trim it later. If you are creating the lady fingers or sponge fingers with your Genoise sponge cake, you can grab yourself a sheet of baking paper and draw your grid. I have 7.5 centimeters or 75 millimeters that I've drawn in between, with about a 1.5 or 15 millimeter gap in between, with some permanent marker or pencil, and then just flip that over. And we want to secure this down onto our tray. And with the same size piping tip at the end, so you have good pressure, we are going to pipe our sponge fingers. Just make sure that you leave a little bit of a gap between you and the baking paper. I like to use my right hand to squeeze and my left hand to give a little bit of guidance. Squeeze, 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 stop, pull, and then back. If you end up with little tails at the end, you can grab yourself a little bit of water and just push them down so they're all nice and even. For your entremet base, if you're using a frame measuring 20 by 28 centimeters, you just want to draw with some pencil on a sheet of baking paper and then flip that over onto your tray and secure with some clips. And then we're going to pipe directly over our stencil. Before transferring to your preheated oven, dust generously with confectioner's sugar.